Hi everyone, this is Jake Mickelsen, the Quality Improvement Education Manager in the Department of Radiology at Stanford University, and welcome today to the Radiology Improvement Team Education Program. In today's topic, we're going to learn about what process waste is and how to identify it. So first off, let's ask the question, what is waste? Well, waste is basically any activity in a process that does not add value. Or in other words, non-value added activity, oftentimes abbreviated as NVA. So the next question you could ask is, well, what is value? Value is anything the customer is willing to pay for. So in simple terms, if you were asked what is waste, you could say any activity in a process that the customer is not willing to pay for. So in quality improvement, we classify waste into 8 categories, call them the 8 wastes. And the easiest way to remember the 8 wastes is by using the acronym Tim Woods. We're going to use this acronym as we go throughout our presentation today, and you'll find it very helpful in remembering what the 8 wastes are and being able to identify them after you leave this tutorial today. So let's go through the 8 wastes. So remember the acronym is Tim Woods, this guy here who sneaks around and brings waste to all our processes. So first T. T stands for transportation, or unnecessary patient or material movement. I is inventory, which can be information, material, or patients in queue. M is motion, unnecessary staff movement. W is waiting, people, machine, or information idle time. O is overproduction, producing sooner or faster than required. And the other O is overprocessing, redundant or unnecessary processing. D stands for defects or rework because of low quality or errors. And then S stands for skills or underutilizing talents and skills. These are the 8 wastes: transportation, inventory, motion, waiting, overproduction, overprocessing, defects, and skills. And you can use the Tim Woods acronym to remember these. So now let's talk about some hospital examples. How do these 8 wastes apply to healthcare? Well, here's a few examples. For transportation, an example of waste in transportation is multiple paperwork transfers among staff. I think all of us have experienced the process where paperwork is handed to the nurse, then to the technologist, then to the doctor, then to the patient, then back to the nurse, and there's so many transfers that it becomes wasteful. An inventory example could be excess supplies taking up space. Motion could be searching for forms, supplies, or charts. This is wasteful activity. Waiting for lab results or waiting for the next exam. Overproduction could be unused printed reports. We've all seen examples of when reports are printed sooner or faster or even more than what is actually required. Overprocessing, re-entry of patient demographics. Do you think we can get by just by entering that once? I hope we can. Defects. An example of defects could be a requisition form that's incomplete or illegible. This requires rework, and therefore it is wasteful activity. And the last one, skills. An example of this is a doctor fixing a copying machine. All of us have skills in different areas. We should be using those skills to do the task that best fits our skills. We don't want to underutilize talents and skills. So here are examples of the 8 wastes. So now what can we do with them? Well, a common exercise to do once you know the 8 wastes is something called the waste walk. To do a waste walk, first what you do is you create your process map. So all of us are working on processes we're trying to improve. We need to create a process map. And a process map could be simply a start and then a few steps in between and then an end. Once we've created our process map, we go to the workplace and with our Tim Woods definitions in hand, so the definitions of the 8 wastes in our hands, and we observe the process. And as we observe the process, we take note where Tim Woods resides in our process. So for example, in our process map here, as we observe the process, we may take note that Tim Woods resides in the form of transportation. So you remember, T in Tim Woods stands for transportation, and we note that there's waste in transportation at the beginning of our process. We then note there's waste in defects and waste in motion during step 2 of our process. We then note there's another waste in motion in step 4. And then in step 5, we see a waste in skills, or a waste in waiting. So a waste walk is simply this. We go, we create our process map, we observe the process, and we note where Tim Woods resides. So why is this so important? Why can this be so helpful? Well, focusing on the 8 wastes and doing a waste walk will assist you in identifying areas that need improvement. And it'll help pull out the quick wins. I've seen so many times where a team does a waste walk and all of a sudden they have these quick wins or these quick improvements they can make by just simply pulling out the waste. It also creates much more enjoyable and fulfilling processes for employees. When employees have to do a process that's full of waste every day, it's not enjoyable and it's very unfulfilling. And lastly, we focus on the 8 wastes because it creates safer and more reliable conditions for our patients. This is incredibly important. When we reduce waste, we create more reliable conditions for our patients. Take a look at this diagram. Waste in any process always creates variability, meaning when we have waiting, when we have motion, when we have excess inventory, excess transportation, doctors fixing copying machines, when we do all this, we introduce variability into our process. And variability creates errors. A highly variable process will create errors, and errors create unsafe conditions for our patients. So if we can reduce waste, we will reduce variability and therefore reduce errors and create safer conditions for our patients. So lastly, in summary, what have we learned today? Memorize the 8 wastes using Tim Woods and develop an eye for identifying waste. Perform a waste walk on your process. This is a very simple activity, but can be eye-opening for you and your team. And then third, reducing waste reduces variation and will assist you in creating safer environments for our patients. Remember this quick diagram, and as you perform waste walks and identify waste, you will create a safer environment and a more reliable environment for our patients. Thanks for your attention today. Again, this is Jake Mickelsen, and this is the Radiology Improvement Team Education Program. Thanks.